Hi, my name is Ken Collier and I'm the editor of the Family Handyman. Today I'd like to talk about edge gluing, one of the basic techniques of woodworking. Edge gluing is when you glue two boards together along their edges. The first step is to get everything completely set up. The last thing you want to do is to be scrambling around finding tools and supplies while the glue is setting. I've got a beat up piece of masonite to protect my workbench, a set of 3/4 inch pipe clamps, which I highly recommend, some yellow woodworker's glue, a small scrap of wood to apply the glue on the edges of the boards themselves, and some wax paper, which separates the clamps from the wood. I'm going to be gluing these three boards together. Here's a rough rule of thumb for how many clamps you're going to need when you're edge gluing. You can imagine the pressure coming off the clamp head approximately as a triangle. So in this case, the clamp will cover about that much of the glue joint. So I'm going to use 3 clamps below my boards, and then I'm going to use another 2 clamps above the boards. With pipe clamps, it's important to get about half the clamps below the panel and half above, and that'll keep it from bowing as you apply the pressure. I'm also using scraps of wood, the same thickness as my panel, to separate the panel from the clamp heads. This keeps my good wood from getting dented by the clamp heads. When I have the boards arranged the way I want them, I like to mark them with what's called a cabinet maker's triangle. This guarantees that after the boards are separated, I can come back and get them exactly the way I had them. The next step is to clamp up your panel without glue. Start clamping in the middle, making sure that the surfaces of the panel are flush on top. Move out to the ends. You don't need to apply a lot of pressure at this stage. Your goal is to check and make sure that the joints are tight. Now is the time to fix a joint by ripping a new one, or even, if you need to, replace one of the boards with a flatter one. This looks like it's going to go. Apply a thin bead of glue along both mating surfaces of each joint. And then spread the glue out evenly with a small block of wood or a disposable brush. With all the edges glued, you're ready to start clamping for real. Again, start in the middle. Apply a light pressure and make sure that the top surfaces are flush. This time I'm going to lay the wax paper down for the clamps that go above. Like so. The wax paper will prevent the little black marks that you can get if the glue actually comes into contact with the pipe of the clamp. Okay. Your goal is to have a thin bead of glue show up all along the joint, what's called the squeeze out. When that looks good, you can go off and have a cup of coffee and let the glue set up. Ideally, you would scrape off the excess glue, the squeeze out, when it's semi-hard and kind of rubbery. It's easy to get off at that stage. But frankly, I often forget, and the glue gets rock hard. If that happens to you, you can use a paint scraper to remove it. In any case, once the glue is dry, you can take the clamps off, sand your panel, trim it, and you're ready to move on with your project.